Welcome everybody to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. To get up to a 100% bonus on your first $300 deposit, go to MyBookie.ag, put in the promo code TGT100, or go to the top of the GruelingTruth.com page, click on the banner. That will also do the damage for you. I am your co-host, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I want to welcome in 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing good today. A couple more great NBA basketball games last night. Really good hockey game. And some baseball news.
Yeah. And real quick, we just got to beep in. I want to welcome our guest today, Lucas Weiss. How you doing, Lucas?
How's it going, guys?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Mike, don't I have approval? Don't I have some approval of guests on this show? I am co-owner of this show.
No, you don't.
So, you need to be a little more respectful of asking my opinion if I want some idiot Canadian on the radio show.
Well, that's kind of countryist.
Sports.
Instead of being racist, you're being countryist.
Elitist.
I love Canada. I mean, sure, there's only like 300 people, but they've got their own professional football league.
I'm an isolationist.
You're an isolationist. All right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, we don't need to take care of anybody in the world except ourselves.
I agree. I didn't know that we took care of Canada, but...
No, I'm sure we do. Trust me.
All right.
There's not a country in this world we don't take care of.
All right.
Matter of fact, the country we least take care of is our own country. We got children without health care. We got children without education. We got children not getting vaccinated. Canada doesn't have a measles problem. North Korea doesn't have a measles problem. We have a measles problem.
We have a measles problem?
Yeah. 27 states now.
What's the problem?
Yo,
what?
Great
talking to you. It's great talking to you.
I love you, Lucas.
Let's
go.
Well, let's start off here. Lucas, what's your opinion on the Cubs banning a fan for making what they said was a racist hand gesture behind Doug Glenville?
It's 2019, and I know that you were talking on, previous shows that you've done before. It's just all about keeping your opinions to yourself. And you just got to be conscious of the fact that in today's society, those type of gestures or bringing in a, controversial flag or whatnot, it's just going to cause a stir, and it's unnecessary controversy. If you're that fan, why don't you just not do that? Keep your opinions to yourself and don't draw unnecessary controversy and unwarranted attention to yourself. So he got what he deserved. And
a lifetime ban is what he deserved?
Well, to me, that's equivalent to the Blue Jays fan in the 2016 AL wildcard game throwing a beer onto the field.
No, it's not the same.
It's not the same because throwing a beer on the field, number one, were the Blue Jays in the playoffs. But number two, really, the Blue Jays were in the playoffs in 2016? I forgot all about that. But threw me off.
Well, you don't remember anything past 1990, Mike. So,
yeah, that is
boxing or football.
That is true, Lucas. That is true. Actually, even the boxing and football, I forget stuff too. But I just have number one. They didn't even get this guy's side of the story to know what the hand gesture could have mean either, though.
Well.
Can somebody enlighten me on what a racist hand gesture is without getting ourselves in trouble?
It was like an upside-down circle or something, which also could be the circle game, Lucas.
Okay.
I think it's the Cubs are, again, it's 2019, it's not my judgment on the call. I don't even know how they even got word that this happened. It was probably some fans sitting near this guy probably did a videotape and sent it into the Cubs organization. But
was Was there heckling going on with this, or was it just
No,
a
he
sign?
just made a hand gesture, and then the Cubs tried to get a hold of him and couldn't, so they banned him for life. And team president Theo Epstein called this truly disgusting, and it gave me shivers to watch that would take place at Wrigley Field.
You're getting into some very dangerous ground here. The pendulum has shifted to one direction so far on this politically correct crap that you're getting into First Amendment rights here, freedom of speech. If there's no heckling going on, and it's a gesture, when I look at an upside-down circle, I'm making one right now, and I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah.
I've used
We're going to have to let you go,
Steve.
Steve.
Yeah, okay. All right, hey, Mike, Steve, we're going to have Lucas on today. I text you a picture of me holding my fingers up going, okay. Now, is that a racist statement, or is that me saying it's okay? Interpretation is left to everything. And I think when you get into this situation where you start banning people for things like this, they pay a lot of money to go to a Cubs game. And within a certain degree of, you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. I get that. You can't pour a beer on somebody because that's battery. But a little, I don't know. I didn't see the gesture, so I can't say there's no heckling going on with it. Where does it stop, Lucas? We go with a hand gesture now, and then where does it stop, and where do we absolutely lose control of our freedom of speech in any way, shape, or form?
Well, you make a good point.
This pendulum's going to swing back. It does every time. It's going to come back to middle ground. It'll always fall. It'll come back down. It'll be a little less PC, a little more tolerance. The Cubs need to exert some tolerance, and they need to just put a warning out there and say, hey, we don't appreciate that kind of stuff. The Cubs don't want to be represented that way. And as true Cubs fans, we'd appreciate you didn't make those kind of comments, gestures, or remarks while you're at Wrigley Field. But if people are paying to get in, they have a right to chant, your team sucks or whatever. And a gesture like that can be interpreted in multiple ways. And to sit there and say it's a race, but again, I didn't see the gesture. But if the way you're describing it, and I'm making it right now, I'm seeing okay. I've used that gesture of a circle of my fingers up multiple times. All my entire life. So it's dangerous ground. Mike, do you agree with me, or you're a big proponent of the Constitution?
Well, my big thing is this: I don't know. The Constitution doesn't say much about a hand gesture. What I know is this,
doesn't.
Lucas,
but it's freedom of speech.
Lucas, I'm going to call BS on what you said because of one simple thing. Theo Epstein said that it was one of the most disturbing things he'd ever seen at Wrigley Field.
Come on, yeah.
Now.
Yeah, because he has to say that, Mike. He has to say that.
Yeah, okay. Well, let me finish. Let me finish.
Representing the Cubs.
Let me finish. Addison Russell coming on the field in the Cubs uniform should be a bigger problem for
deal.
Theo Epstein.
Exactly.
Without a doubt.
They're banning a fan, but you said the fan should be banned. That's what you said. Should the player be allowed to play baseball?
So this is what I'm going to say.
Great point, Mike.
Can I see?
Sound like Bobby now. No. Go ahead.
Okay. Anyway. My point is this. I think you're right, Mike. Addison Russell, the guy beat his ex-girlfriend up. And the fact that the Cubs even kept this guy, number one.
He admitted to it, too, Lucas. It's not like it was just her accusation.
And he admitted to it. Of course he shouldn't play. But if I were to respond to Steve's point, sure, of course, there needs to be a line, drawn, and political correctness has gotten out of control. But I think, you can chant, but when it gets racially insensitive, that's a problem. If you chant the N-word, that's the problem.
Agreed.
And you should be banned.
But the problem here is this. We don't know what his intention was with it because they never even questioned him. They just unquestionably banned him because social media ran wild saying the guy was being a racist, which maybe he was. But he also has the right to be that if he doesn't hurt anybody else.
Explain this to me, guys.
Well, hold on. Let Lucas finish this because this will be a good one. Go ahead, Lucas.
All right. Go ahead, Lucas.
I get that a lot of people pay a lot of money to go to baseball games, hockey games, etc. But you just got to, you can chant your team sucks or, profanity, whatever or that. But, there is a line. When it gets racially insensitive.
You there, Lucas?
You lost him?
Shows he's still on. Lucas? Lucas.
He's still babbling. He's still rambling.
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
So, and this is the thing. My problem is, if the dude made a racist sign, I got no problem with him being gone.
No,
but we don't even know what the intention of the sign was, if you know what I mean, Steve.
Yeah, why don't you try and call Lucas back and see if we can get him back.
Well,
and
it
I'll
still
talk
shows
to you
that
while you're doing
Lucas is on. So, Lucas might have muted himself.
No, hang up and dial him again. He's lost it on his end. But anyway,
is that what he said?
Pardon?
Is that
no,
what he
I've
said?
not heard from him.
Oh.
No, but that's what's happened, I bet. Theo Epstein is a guy here right now who decided to become judge, jury, and sentencer without talking to the guy, what his intent was. Now, again, I don't know. I did not know there was a racist sign. I knew there was racist verbiage and language, and there were symbols that projected racism, such as the Confederate flag, statues of great, Southern generals.
Oh. All right, guys, we're having some technical difficulties right now, which we are currently ironing out.
Hi.
What's up? I called you back and I hung up on Steve. Steve, you there? Oh, looks like Steve's no longer there. All right, Lucas, go ahead.
Yeah, so, my point is this. I agree with you, Mike. There needs to be more investigation. My point was just that in 2019, I think the Cubs and a lot of professional organizations are forced to act a certain way because if they didn't, they'd get a lot more PR flack than if they did make that statement. And I just think this, as a fan, of course you pay a lot of money. If you make that choice to be racially insensitive or make a racist, misogynistic comment, you should lose your right from entering the stadium again. That's my opinion. Because those people there should be rational enough to keep their thoughts to themselves and not act in a way that would warrant this type of controversy. That's my big takeaway about the fan. And then in regards to Addison Russell, he shouldn't be playing, but he shouldn't be playing. And I think it's worse on the Cubs. It's worse on the Cubs that they're allowing him to play, given that he already admitted this crime and did this wrongdoing.
Lucas, this guy that made the gesture, isn't he, in America, I don't know what it is in Canada, but in America, isn't he allowed due process?
Not there. Once you buy that ticket, you give up pretty much all your rights. It's kind of like if you're in school, and this is one of the reasons I homeschool my kids, is because if you're in the American public school system, you have no constitutional rights. Those constitutional rights disappear when you walk onto campus.
All right.
It's just like Colin Kaepernick, right? With working for the 49ers, you can make a case that his constitutional right, when he's an employee of an organization, you sign on to that contract or whatever. So you do lose because there is a code of conduct for fans.
Well, this is the thing, though. The NBA has it in the contract that you have to do what Colin Kaepernick wouldn't do, and the NFL failed to put that in the contract.
Of course, and I completely get that, but my bigger takeaway is, as a fan, you have to abide by the rules that a respective stadium puts together. And if you're not willing to do that,
Well, how about this, though?
Right.
If you're going to go professional sports-wise, the Washington Redskins, why are they allowed to be called the Redskins then, Lucas? This guy made a hand gesture. The Redskins signature is not a good thing.
I agree.
And the Redskins are have been in the past, completely racist organization from George Preston Marshall taking ownership in the late 1920s until he died, luckily, in 1970 or so.
Without a doubt. I completely agree.
Steve?
I don't even know where to go with this with you guys. The smarter prevailing decision here is don't put the idiot on TV. Instruct Major League Baseball cameras to not show that crap. You're giving him fuel for his fire by making him a mountain out of a molehill now.
If that is what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and just ignore him, because if you ignore idiots, they generally go away because they're not getting the attention, which is why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, but idiots give you TV ratings.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a double-edged sword. But when this Steve Epstein guy bans this guy and then turns right around and gives a big contract to a wife beater, what credibility does Steve Epstein have anymore?
It's a fair question.
What's his credibility now? Okay, I'm banning a guy for life because he made a gesture that can be taken probably 25 different ways. He's banned for life. How do you even ban the guy? You tell me the guy changes the color of his hair and he comes back in the stadium? How do you ban him? He goes to StubHub and buys a ticket and goes to the Cubs game? How do you even – that's an idiotic thing to even think of doing, banning him for life.
Yeah,
but
then
you turn around and the guy's admitted beating his wife.
Yeah, but they could sit there and say, look what we did to combat social injustice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did our part because we're all afraid that some sponsor's going to drop. Budweiser's going to take their name off the roof and the patio over there if we don't be politically correct.
Exactly. That was my point.
That's what it boils down to, So, again, I did not see the gesture. I only really heard of this morning. But I'm visualizing what I think has happened based on the feedback and the reading that I'm doing. And I would be a little bit more concerned about bringing a player back that's admitted to beating his wife after a 40-game suspension. Is that enough? Should the guy be playing baseball anymore? Should there be a second chance on if you attack and beat your wife or your children?
No, he should be locked up in jail for the rest of his life.
He should be banned for life. Why is he not banned for life? You know why? Because he can hit home runs. He can steal bases. He can field.
And because in the society we're in, Steve, a racist sign somebody makes is worse than beating your wife. Lucas?
Mm-hmm. That's a statement. That's a statement right there. That's a statement the UFC just made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
I agree.
Shame on the Cubs. Yeah, shame on the Cubs. They blew this one 110%. But this is what being politically correct does to you. It makes you make stupid decisions because you don't bet with your brain. You bet it with everybody else's brain, everybody else's mouth.
Yeah, you're too worried about what everybody else thinks.
Exactly.
This is the thing.
Yeah, you make exactly.
Lucas, how did this come out? Did somebody on the network see it and report it? Or, was it some social justice warrior who just did a social media campaign?
Well, that's what I think. I think probably someone sitting near him filmed them, posted it on social media, or sent it to the Cubs, and then that's how they got word of it. There's to me no other explanation unless maybe someone, maybe a reporter that's in, on the field level just looking up and makes that comment. But that's
how about this? By doing this, if the guy truly is a racist, you just made him a martyr and you made him, famous amongst the people he rolls with. So you didn't hurt him, you helped him. Now, on the opposite, if he's not a racist and this sign meant something completely different, you just basically made this guy look like a racist to the whole freaking world.
Yeah.
So either way, what you've done is atrocious. And what they've done with Addison Russell shows you that, and Theo Epstein and, a bunch of these rich owners, they're quick to call people misogynists, but aren't you kind of a misogynist if you let somebody that did something like Addison Russell come back and play on your team? Because you absolutely have no respect for women if you're Theo Epstein.
Well, without a doubt. You're
100% agree with you, Mike.
You're condoning domestic violence. It's just like the Kansas City Chiefs with Tyreek Hill right now. It's the same thing.
Yeah. The Cleveland Browns, we ran an article that one of our writers wrote yesterday, Men of Character, because John Dorsey wants men of character with the Cleveland Browns. Let that sink in. John Dorsey, the same guy that originally signed Tyreek Hill with the Kansas City Chiefs, that brings Kareem Hunt into the Cleveland Browns. They drafted 3 guys with shady past in this last draft. I mean, John Dorsey is like Andy Reid. He's a scumbag. The only thing he's worried about is winning. He doesn't care who gets hurt in the midst of it as long as he can put a ring on his finger. Unfortunately for him, people that tend to try to win that way usually don't end up with any rings on their fingers.
Without a doubt, Mike, they have no moral compass.
No. And even if you win with no moral compass, does it really mean anything? Because you'll be forgotten quickly.
All right, guys, look. We spent 22 minutes on this.
Let's segue to NBA and NHL playoffs.
Yeah, and we're going to go.
Lucas, this isn't your show. You're a guest.
Lucas, you're fine, buddy. Lucas now owns 6% of this show.
I want to say this. I want to say this. I do not believe that any of the 3 of us are racist. I do not believe in racism in any way, shape, or form. This program doesn't believe in racism in any way, shape, or form. I want to get that out there. And I'm not defending anything. I'm saying you need to make decisions based on your investigation, your brain, and you need to do the right thing and not do what comes out of somebody else's mouth on a social media account, which is how too many decisions are made.
Well, I can tell you this. This would not even be brought up if it was the racist fan getting kicked out, because I really don't care either way. The thing that blew my mind is this morning, like 20 minutes before the show started, I read Theo Epstein saying how shocked and disgusted he is that a fan made a racist symbol at Wrigley Field while we've got an admitted wife beater playing baseball on the exact same day. It's just bullcrap. And it gets old when you got to watch this all the time, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs, no matter who it is. It just gets old. All right, guys, let's move on to something that is not getting old. The Milwaukee Bucks, because they're pretty young, Lucas. And they hammered the Boston Celtics, Steve. And, Steve, you picked the Boston Celtics to win it all at the start of the season.
Why do you always say that I pick the loser every time?
Because you do.
I don't. Did I pick the Celtics?
Yeah.
Okay, I picked the Celtics.
Yeah.
The Celtics are not the same
you at
team
one
they were.
point picked the Celtics.
And
wait a second. This is the thing. And I'll pull the show back up. We'll run the clip. The Celtics.
Oh, I'm sure I did.
You picked the
There's no
Celtics
doubt.
and Lakers because you
Right.
said it would be best for the NBA. And you thought there was a conspiracy for them to play each other. But let's get off of that. I think the big thing here, from what we've seen, the Milwaukee Bucks, Steve, I think in January I did pick the Bucks and the Rockets, which I still think could happen. This Bucks team, Giannis, I think is the best player in the NBA. He almost went for a triple-double last night, 28 and 8. The thing that strikes me with Middleton, Bledsoe, Hill, this team is extremely deep. They're a young team. I think they're going to be a handful for anybody to beat. I don't expect them to lose more than a game or two the rest of the way in the Eastern Conference. I'm sorry, Lucas.
I think Toronto, Milwaukee is going to be a good matchup. Leonard is playing such great basketball that he's elevating everybody else's game on Toronto. But we'll get to Toronto. I think the Bucks. I have a feeling the winner is going to come out of the East. I just have this feeling that the winner of the NBA championship this year is going to come out of the East. I look at you talked about Milwaukee. They put 3 players off the bench in double figures, and 4 of their 5 starters in double figures. You got 8 players in double figures, as you said. They're sharing the ball. Giannis is just playing great leadership. They've got great leadership out of that young basketball team. Coaching's not getting in the way, and that's a team that's playing inspired basketball, playing to win a championship. They seem to have a common goal, which it looked to me like the Celtics lost that common goal. Kyrie Irving's worried about where he's going to play next year. I think that Gordon Hayward's still worried about his ankle to some degree. They've got individual issues, but the Bucks, among anybody, are playing for one focused goal, and that's to get to the NBA Finals and then have a chance to play for a championship. And they're mastering it right now.
Yeah, Lucas, when I look at this, the thing that stands out to me about the Bucks is you almost never see any Milwaukee Buck that's played more than 40 minutes in a game.
Yeah.
No.
Middleton at 34 was the tops on yesterday.
Without a doubt.
That's all you got to say is without a doubt. All right. So maybe I should have asked Steve's permission.
Well, let me expand. Let me expand.
He just wants to talk about Toronto. He's not kidding anybody.
No. I mean, the Bucks have been the best team in the NBA. They haven't played anyone great yet in the playoffs. Let's see what they got when they play someone great.
Yeah, but there's nobody great to play in the East.
They haven't played anyone great.
There's nobody great in the East.
I disagree with that.
Okay, who's great? Because, number one, I hate to tell you this, Toronto is still in a series with a 76er team that is not very deep, has Joel Embiid hurt, and the Raptors are still going to Game 6. The Raptors have Kawhi Leonard, who Steve, at some point this year, will learn how to say Kawhi's name. You got Siakam, Lowry, Green, Ibaka. But when I look at this team, I just don't think they have the depth of the Bucks, and I don't think Toronto's very well coached either. And I think that Toronto is going to end up playing Game 7 against Philadelphia before this is all said and done. I still think Toronto probably beats them because I don't think Embiid's real healthy. But I expect Toronto to win the series. But
Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons have really, to me, declined their value this series. You know, Ben Simmons averaging 9 points. This guy's supposed to be an all-star. He's supposed to be an all-star. And he has like 5 or 6 field goal attempts.
Yeah, and I want to know how Embiid can drop 35 one night and then a couple nights later be too hurt and only score 10.
And Mike, he's airplaning. He's partying with Allen Iverson and Meek Hill at the Philly game. He's thinking he's won the NBA Finals, and 2 nights later, he's the Walking Dead. I mean, I think Raptors are winning tonight, and it's going to be a great series against Milwaukee. I'm worried about Milwaukee, and Mike, you bring up great points because I think, can our supporting cast make shots? Can Fred VanVleet, Serge Ibaka, Pascal Siakam, those guys really play up to the supporting cast of the Bucks? Because I think the supporting cast of the Bucks is very legit, and it's going to be a real, chore stopping Giannis, especially inside. It's going to be a chore. But
you're not going to stop him. You could get. I think this with Giannis, you could let him go for 50. You just need to take control. You need to take care of all the other guys.
Exactly, and Kawhi Leonard's had an unbelievable playoff, and he's a great two-way player. And I think with the way Kawhi is playing, they're going to be competitive with the Bucks. But we'll see. I think it's going to be closer than what you think a sweep.
I think it's 4 games to 1,
5 games.
Maybe 4 games to 2. But I'm looking for 5 games probably. I've been wrong before because I thought Portland would take Denver out in 5, and that's where we'll go now. And I think the thing that stood out to me in this game, or the last game, Game 5, Lucas, was the Blazers looked flat, disengaged, disinterested. I know those first 4 games have been a struggle. To then go on a day's rest to Denver is rough. Will Denver have the same problem tonight, though? You're going to get a short turnaround. I think there's a decent shot. You could maybe get a little bit of a flat Nugget team, but the thing that really stands out to me to this Nuggets team are the surrounding players, the Gary Harrises, guys like that. And Jokic is an absolute beast. And I thought going into this playoffs, maybe they could make the conference finals, but I figured they would lose in this round. But the more I watch this Denver team, I think we could see a Denver-Milwaukee final by the time everything's done.
No question. Denver has really impressed me. I thought throughout the entire season, it was, again, the same question I asked. Let's see what they got. They had a good regular season, but, it's Denver. These guys haven't been there before. Can they really step up and play to that, elite level? And they've shown that. Jokic is a beast. He's one of the, top 10 players.
Millsap and Murray have been the ones that have really put him over the top, though.
Exactly. And I thought this, Mike, after Portland wins in quadruple overtime, I'm thinking, okay, this series is going Portland's way because of Damian Lillard, who's another great player. But Denver has just played really well. But don't count out Portland just yet. I think they're gonna rise up tonight, and I could see that series going 7. But Denver's legit, and I really do think they could pull off the upset over Houston or Golden State. I think they have the pieces to do that because Golden State and Houston are just beating each other up, and that's a real emotional toll of a series, even more than physical at times.
Well, and look at and we'll go ahead and transition to that now. The Warriors beat the Rockets 104-99 last night, but losing Kevin Durant makes this, if they play Denver, if they get past the Rockets, even that much more difficult because they had that white guy shooting threes who wasn't very good in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. I
the Cubs just banned me, guys. I got to go. I made a racist comment about white people. Come on, that was funny. Go ahead, Lucas.
There you go. I just think Golden State showed last night that they can win without Kevin Durant. Steph Curry really stepped up. They looked like, the team that won 73 games when they could have folded last night. Houston was coming on. They put that game within 1 point, and then Golden State just took off. And I think with now Steph Curry thinking that this is his team with the Kevin Durant injury, I think Golden State is fine. But Houston, I still think has a chance. I want that series to go 7. I think it'd be great for basketball. It feels like an NBA Finals to me with those two teams. And I also want to say, Mike, I don't buy the calf strain with the Warriors at 7 because it really looked like an Achilles injury to me.
Yeah.
The way that, Kevin Durant, it was a non-contact
Yeah, but you know
play.
what? Even a calf strain is something that can linger, and we may not see him again either way.
Yeah, and it could be that could be his last game in a Warriors jersey. You never know. I hope he plays. But I think Golden State's just fine. Obviously you want Kevin Durant, but I think Steph and Clay, they feel a little bit more free now with Kevin Durant gone. I think with Kevin Durant on that team, it was always, the plays were orchestrated to get the ball to Kevin Durant. And what I saw in the fourth quarter last night, Steph Curry was looking very free in the shots that he was making. So, I think Golden State takes it serious. The
thing that stands out to me is this, Steve. All right, Lucas made up the fact that, they could... Let's face it, it's a big difference between losing one of your best players at the end of the third quarter than it is having a day's rest. The other team has a chance to prepare for you, and you have to come back and play a Game 6. There's a big difference playing off emotion for a quarter than there is to have reality set in. You're not going to have KD for a couple days, and then you got to play Game 6 at Houston. So I don't think there's any question that for a short period of time, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson can get you over the top. But can they win an NBA World Championship without Kevin Durant? Because when we look at Denver, there's matchup problems all over the place if they don't have Kevin Durant against Denver.
Are you talking to me now?
I said Steve, yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, that was about 8 sentences ago. So, I think that right now the question mark is Steph Curry has not had a good series. He's not played well. He stepped up in the third and fourth quarter, and like you said, on an emotional high. But is he going to be able to dial in and focus and get his shooting range back? He's not shot well. He's been kind of lethargic. I don't know if he's tired, but I agree with you entirely. You elevate yourself when an injury occurs while you're in the middle of play. It's like you charge up, but now you're going to go home and think about it for 2 days because what I read, they're doing an MRI on Durant today. He's most likely definitely not going to play in Game 6, and he's very questionable for Game 7. So you're looking at probably not having him the rest of the series, and even if he comes back, he's probably not going to be at 100%. So the bigger question here is can Curry reignite his game for an entire game and not just do it for a quarter and a half when there's an emotional ride going on right there. So you brought that up, and I agree. I agree. I think Denver's going to just pose some real problems for either one of the two teams. And Lucas is right, and those two teams are just beating the crap out of each other right now.
Well, so are
And they're gonna go
Portland.
into
I
the
mean, it's not
championship.
like Portland has been a cakewalk for Denver either, though.
No, but Portland's not been as physical as Denver has. I mean, Denver, I think, has the best defensive backcourt in the NBA right now. Murray and Gary Harris play as good a defense as I've seen two guards play in the NBA. They're hassling players the minute they come across the half court line. And Denver's really not giving that back to them. Denver's playing on talent and finesse, and it's great games. I think that's the best series going right now is Denver and Portland. It's the most fun to watch. But the Rockets Warriors, they're just pounding on each other left and right. But if I was Golden State right now, not having Durant, that's a huge chunk of armor out of their military. I'd be a little worried right now that the Rockets are going to come back, and Rockets are going to smell blood, and they've got a lot of talent. And I think Rockets control their own destiny right now more than the Warriors do.
Well, and I'll still go back to this. Go ahead, Lucas.
I'll just make the quick point. I think Houston should have won that game yesterday. And where was James Harden in the fourth quarter? I mean, he just disappeared.
Well, how about this? I think with Durant going out, I think if Durant would have played the whole game, I think Houston would have beat him.
I agree. The team changed when Durant went down, and Steph, for a quarter, found himself.
Yeah, and Steph can do that for 4 quarters, too. My question is, can Steph by himself for 4 quarters doing that be the difference to beat the Rockets? And I think that actually, as crazy as this may sound, if they go 3 guards, I think that they match up better with the Rockets that way.
No, definitely, because they're playing Paul, Gordon, and Harden. Houston's playing 3 guards.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're not slowing it down. You can run with him a little bit, and James Harden's a great shooter, but he's not Steph Curry. And it's like when we had to question last week who the best player in the NBA was, I think it's Giannis, but it's why I brought up there. Nobody brings up Steph Curry, but if we're going into one game and I got to have one guy on my team to win that game, I think Steph Curry is the guy I'm rolling with, Lucas.
Yeah, Steph. I still think Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant's the best in the game. I mean, before he got hurt, he was, shooting 50% from the field, averaging over 30 points this playoffs. He was on a real.
I'll still take Giannis over him, though.
Giannis, we got to see what Giannis is made of. And we are.
We're going to find that out in Canada next week, Lucas, and you get back to us and report to us on how that turns out.
I'll be at the game. I'm looking forward to it.
What if it's in Philly? Are you going to go to Philly for Game 3?
No.
Against Milwaukee?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Let's go ahead and let's transition to the NHL playoffs, where last night the San Jose Sharks beat the Colorado Avalanche 3-2 on a highly controversial call. Had something to do with it. Lucas, you want to talk a little bit about this? Because this stood out something to me that really didn't affect the game. I didn't know why it was called. And then the other call that bothered me was Game 6 of the Blue Jackets game, where you get a guy suspended for the next playoff game, but it was only called a 2-minute minor when he delivers the blow to the guy's head. What's going on here?
I'll start with Charlie McAvoy. I mean, that should have been a 5-minute major, and I think he should have been suspended 3 games.
Yeah, and that could have changed entire series. You asked, and we have the Vegas Knights, the 5-minute penalty there. That was a horse crap call. That shouldn't have been a 5-minute, and that changed who was even in the playoff series we saw last night.
And it was in the Western Conference Finals today, Mike. It goes back to the refereing, and I know the NHL says that these are the best referees in the world, but come on, you can't be inconsistent in the application of the rule. Was it a suspendable hit? Absolutely. Charlie McAvoy should have been more than 1 game, but just called 2 minutes on the ice. Come on, 5-minute penalty. 5-minute penalty. You're almost guaranteed you're going to score. Because Columbus is, they're getting the momentum. They're feeling good about themselves. They're going to score a goal there.
Maybe more than one.
And probably more than one, exactly. And I don't know, last night, I don't know. I don't think, it was controversial. I actually think that the whole Gabriel Landeskog thing earlier on that overturned the goal, he needs to hustle back. He was just, slowly skating over. He needs to hustle back there to prevent that call from even being overturned and reviewed in the first place. Because if he hustles back to the bench rather than just slowly skating back like it's a Sunday afternoon skate, he would have, they would have scored, and the whole complexion of the game changes. And I just think that, I still think San Jose is the better team than Colorado. I'm happy they advanced. Lots of good stories on that team, with Joe Thornton having not won a Stanley Cup before. One of my friends from my alma mater high school is on that team, so that's really good for San Jose. But, it just goes back again to the whole refereeing thing and just inconsistent application of the rules, particularly with hits to the head.
Yeah, and that was a hit that was very egregious, to say the least. All right, let's go ahead and look a little bit at the conference finals tonight. Carolina, a bunch of jerks, goes and plays Boston. The thing that stands out to me about Carolina is Rod Brindamore. I mean, he's done a great job coaching this team. The way he's deployed his personnel has been perfect so far. He puts the players in the best spot to give them a chance to succeed. I think Carolina has the best home ice advantage in the NHL. I think Carolina, and I said this last week, I think Carolina ends up in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I sure hope so, because you know how much I love the Boston Bruins. It would bring me great joy.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, Al. The Toronto Maple Leafs are your favorite team, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
So why wouldn't you like the Boston Bruins? Because they own the Maple Leafs.
No, I was being sarcastic, Mike. I was being sarcastic. I hate the Boston Bruins.
Yeah, but they own the Maple Leafs. They own your team, so.
Well, we'll see next year. But anyway, my thing about Carolina is this. I think what they, Rod Brindamore played on the Hurricanes when they won the Cup in 2006. He's a great coach. He's done a great job developing that identity of being a bunch of jerks. I think we need to, sure, the fan base is great right now, but this is a bandwagon fan base. I'm sorry, I'm going to say
all fan bases are bandwagon fan bases.
No, that's not true, Mike.
Oh, come on, they are.
That's not true. That's not true. The Toronto Maple Leafs, if they're doing bad or if they're doing great, people still go to the game. When the Carolina Hurricanes are doing bad, they're the lowest attendance in the NHL. So why is that?
Because wait a second, I'll give an answer.
There's other things to do.
If I live in Carolina, there's other things to do. In Toronto, I'm just going to a hockey game because I'm freezing my ass off outside.
But the point is that I love the atmosphere right now, but don't be fooled when people are saying that this is a great hockey fan base.
I didn't say it was a great hockey fan base. I said they had the best home ice advantage right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say them are the St. Louis Blues. The Sharks last night were loud, and they're in sunny California. So, but I'm happy for the Hurricanes. I think that, they've been getting good goaltending. It's just, the big question for me is, can they slow down the David Pasternaks, the Patrice Bergerons of the world? And I don't know. I think, Boston certainly has the talent up front there. But the way this NHL playoffs is going, Mike, anything is unpredictable.
I think it's safe to say also that Boston, and the reason I picked Carolina is just the fact that I don't think – Boston, let's face it, has not been a very consistent team during the playoffs. No.
They've been very up and down on their special teams. Tuukka Rask has been up and down. Because I think this, if Tuukka Rask gets them with good goaltending, it's going to be tough for Carolina. But Tuukka Rask is very inconsistent. And, look, this is a team that went 7 games against the Leafs, 6 games against Columbus. Carolina's had a lot of reps.
Well, they did have the 7-game series at the start, but they wiped the Islanders out.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't even close. And I just think if they get their crowd going, which I know they will, it's going to be tough. And I think they're a great story. I think, what they've done this year is a great story. It just, I think it, pains me to hear see on Twitter Carolina Hurricanes fans claiming that they have this, amazing hockey culture when 2 years ago they had the lowest attendance in the NHL. Is that a hockey culture? It's not. So,
all right.
Before I piss off any more Hurricanes fans anymore, I'm going to be quiet.
Let's go to the West, because really, if you piss the Hurricane fans off from what you've told us a year or two from now, they won't even exist, so they won't be mad at you anymore. Next up,
I hope they come to Canada.
Are you challenging the fist fights, each individual one?
No. I'm just saying I hope the team relocates to a Canadian market.
Why would they do that?
Because you bring a lot more fans in than Carolina.
Oh, okay. You don't even.
True, Mike.
Such a hater. I know. I agree with you. But we've got these Sharks and the Blues on the other side. And I would think this is going to come down to who wants it the most, number one, because both of these teams just get off 7-game series. But I think the deciding factor here is Martin Jones or Jordan Binnington. Which one do you like? And I would take Binnington, because this St. Louis team, nobody would have thought at the start of January would even be in the playoffs. But since Binnington was called up from the AHL, he has been the decisive factor in making this team so good.
They were the worst team in the NHL, Mike, January 2nd, and they've just been on an incredible run. I like the Blues. I actually think the Blues are going to win it all. I think the way that they've been playing, they can score goals. They're physical. They have pretty good special teams, and Jordan Binnington has been the real difference maker, I think, in this postseason. And I think if the Blues win the Cup, he's going to get the playoffs MVP, because he's been off the charts. And it's just a great story, because he's been bouncing around. Many people thought he would never get a starting job in the NHL, and now he's a hero in St. Louis. So a great story for him. A Canadian, by the way. So great guy.
All right. So I would think for the NHL, the big thing here would be if they could get a St. Louis-Boston final.
That would be great for the ratings.
That's what I mean.
It would be great for it would be a rematch of the 1970 Stanley Cup final. Of course, that famous Bobby Orr goal with him jumping and scoring with his hands and body stretched out. I think the worst matchup would be like a Carolina-San Jose.
Oh, God, that would suck.
That would be a snoozer. That would be a snoozer for the networks, for sure. I think there's good stories all around. And, for me, the Sharks, they've been close before but haven't been able to get it done. St. Louis, with them being the last team and coming back. Carolina, they've, the bunch of jerks identity. And I think the team that no one wants, to see other than in Massachusetts is the Boston Bruins, because I think a lot of people hate that team. So,
well, I mean, basically, people just hate people from Boston in general, I think.
Well,
Boston people didn't seem to be that bad until the Red Sox and Patriots started winning.
Mike, I got to tell you a story that I saw in an article today. So a Boston radio show had a guest
I did.
on.
The Carolina guy and his accent. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, you saw that, right? So he hangs up because he can't understand the Carolina accent. Meanwhile, it's ironic because you can barely understand the Boston accent.
I know. Well, I mean, me and Steve had the same problem with your Canadian accent, but.
Well, I can barely understand Steve sometimes.
Well, is Steve still here? Steve?
Steve?
Okay. I forgot. When we talk about hockey, Steve goes into his shell. But he has been watching
hockey. He goes into hibernation.
Yeah. And the Blues, I think, are the oldest active NHL team to have not won a Stanley Cup, too, aren't they?
Yes. They were one of the first expansion teams after
Yeah, what was that, mid-60s?
Yes. They made the Cup in 1970.
Yeah.
And, of course, lost to Boston. So that would be really great for them because they've had a lot of great players have gone through that franchise over the years.
Oh, and they've had
Wayne Gretzky.
They've had a lot of years where they thought that was the year, and something has always happened to them.
Yeah, well, without it, for sure.
And then they reached the Stanley Cup Finals like 3 straight seasons, didn't they?
68, 69, and 70. Those are their only 3 Stanley Cup finals.
And the weird thing, wasn't that was that their first 3 seasons, or was 67? Did they miss in 67? Because that's pretty amazing to be an expansion team to make it 3 straight Stanley Cup Finals.
So that was their second, third, and fourth year. I mean, everyone talks about the Vegas Golden Knights making the Stanley Cup final in their first year, but people seem to forget that with the St. Louis Blues, they made 3 straight. And they were less than 5 years old, their franchise.
Yeah. All right, Steve, we're going to transition. So we're not going to talk about hockey right now. Steve? Tyrone Lue turned down being the assistant head coach, with LeBron James being, of course, the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. What do you think the Lakers are going to do here? Lue turned it down, from what I read, because they wanted Jason Kidd to be one of his assistants, and they only wanted to give him a 3-year contract instead of what most coaches get, which is a 4-year contract, correct?
That's the story out here in Los Angeles. Apparently, they even had Jason Kidd in on the interview with Lue, and I think that set off wrong. The story was Lue wanted 5 years because the general contract, I thought was 5 years, but it could be 4 years. The NBA, but they were only offering him 3, which pretty much signaled with Jason Kidd being in on the interview that the writing was on the wall, that he was there for a short period of time until Kidd got acclimated and Kidd was probably going to take over the team. That's a speculation from the local sports writers out here. So he turned it down, and you've got a mess out here right now. And the saddest part about it is, and I can go through all the people that are being named. Juwan Howard is a candidate. He played with LeBron James. He's worked in his assistant, but he's had no head coaching experience. He also played with Rob Pelinka at Michigan. Woody's a candidate. He's had 250-win seasons, but really kind of a mediocre 315 and 365 record over the period of time. But he's also got some experience coaching egos. He worked with Carmelo Anthony when he was coaching at the Knicks and things like that. Frank Vogel's being mentioned, who was the Pacers' old coach. Very efficient coach. Works well, probably would get along with Pelinka fairly well. Lionel Hollins. And then there's the talk of LeBron James being, which is probably what they ought to just do, because that's probably what it's going to be anyway. Silly rumor that Phil Jackson's going to come back. Phil had a relationship with Jeannie Buss, but I think he's too old, and I think that would be not a fit at all. So, they're having trouble right now finding somebody that wants to take this job. The sad part to me is that this is really kind of all falling on LeBron's shoulders. And I don't know about you guys, but I think LeBron's been good for the NBA. I think he's been a class act. He's been in the league a long time. He's done well. He's not been a problem to the NBA. He's promoted the NBA. He's been the poster child of the NBA. But to me, this is all falling on his shoulders now that he's the bully here and hand-selecting a coach who's going to be a puppet to him. And I think it's tarnishing his reputation toward the end of his career. And I wish he just would get it over and get done with it, get something going.
Well, the question is, Michael Jordan kind of tarnished his reputation at the end of his career in Washington, but people kind of forgot about it and forgave it. I think there's a big difference between going to Washington and tarnishing it and going to be a Laker and tarnishing it, Lucas.
Oh, without a doubt. The Los Angeles Lakers are one of the most successful NBA franchises in the history of the association. So, I don't think LeBron could have predicted the whole Magic Johnson thing, so I'll cut him some slack there. But let's face it, not many people, players, personnel, want to be with LeBron James right now. And even after he retires and is, etched into basketball lore, it's going to be one of the things that really tarnish his reputation, is that he just was, people didn't really want to play with him. And I think LeBron, it's going to be very interesting to see if he can recruit anyone players-wise. I mean, could a reunion with Kyrie Irving happen? I don't know. It's, but LeBron James, even if the Lakers hire a coach, LeBron James is the coach of that team. And I think that, they obviously lowballed the offer to Ty Lue, and Ty Lue wasn't interested in taking that, which is, good for him. He deserves more given what he did with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I don't know that they don't want to play with LeBron. I think they don't want to play in that environment. It's a toxic environment right now, and Pelinka may be the big. Yeah. Pelinka may be the bigger problem. I got to believe that there was rift between Pelinka. Jeannie's really, bless her heart, I don't know how much involvement she has in running the Lakers or being an owner, or she's just an owner because Dad left it to her in a will. I don't know. She's a social darling out here in Los Angeles, but I don't know how much involved she is in letting Pelinka and Magic just kind of run the whole organization. I think it appears that Magic just got fed up with Pelinka and just walked away from it. Said, I own part of the Dodgers. I'm a billionaire. I don't need this stuff. I don't need to be involved in this. And this is not my Lakers team, and walked away from it because he basically walked away without telling anybody he was walking away. He just packed up his office. Yeah. He didn't talk to Bus. He didn't talk to Pelinka. He just cleaned out his office and said, "See you guys. I'm gone."
Which is what he did when he was a head coach. When he coached in the NBA, he also, similar things.
I think if the Lakers could right their ship, and the Lakers are probably the most screwed up organization in the NBA right now. I hate that it's falling on LeBron's shoulders, but I think there's players that would love to play with LeBron, but I just think they don't want to play with LeBron in this environment. And unfortunately, the label's been put on LeBron that he's the player coach, and I just think that's an aura he's going to keep with him for the rest of his career as a player. And I think guys don't want to get involved in that. Coaches don't want to get involved in that. They don't want to be puppets. And I think they're going to struggle. They should just name LeBron the player assistant coach and see what he does. Maybe that's the best way to take that aura away from him, is let him go. And if he succeeds, they made a good call. If he fails, then it's like, hey, LeBron, you're a player, not a coach.
How about this?
So very few. Yeah.
Why don't we think outside the box? New Lakers coach, Becky Hammon.
Is she the assistant at San Antonio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
if any team could pull that off, the Lakers could pull that off.
Well, you've got one of the few female owners. I mean,
right.
and I think this. I think that Becky Hammon, from what I've heard from like guys that have played for her, or like Paul Gasol and stuff, they all love her and say she's a great coach. Yeah. And you know what? She would do a better job than most of the guys that are still coaching the NBA playoffs. I'd rather have Becky Hammon over a guy named Nick Nurse. No offense, but
I didn't think of that, but that's a bold move. They do have a female owner in the Lakers, and the Lakers in Los Angeles, where everything's weird out here.
Yeah. Then the Laker girls could become the Laker boys, and there you go.
But if any franchise could pull that off or give it a shot in the NBA, the Lakers would be, in Los Angeles, would be the most receptive to that happening here.
Great PR move. It would be like a great PR move.
And actually, from everything I've read, it sounds like she is a quality coach, too.
I've heard that, too.
Well, without a doubt.
So why not give it a shot? I mean, LeBron and Becky. That just sounds like a billboard. Becky and LeBron. It's showtime.
Unreal. Get it done.
That's a great thought, Mike. I mean, I had not pursue that avenue thinking. But, you know, looking at Kidd and Juwan Howard and Mike Woodson, those guys, I mean, they're all guys that have been there and not succeeded at the highest level. And the Lakers are expected to be at the highest level. And if it, you know, it would be interesting to see the dynamics between LeBron and Becky, because he's never had to deal with a female personality at that level of responsibility or authority. And it would be interesting to see if that doesn't make LeBron a little better player. And he, you know, I don't know.
We'll put it like this. I don't think there's any doubt that Pat Summitt could have coached at any level of basketball and been a winner.
Sure. Right.
So I guess Lucas disagrees with that because he didn't say, yeah, that's right.
No, I'm just listening to you guys talk. It's all good. Give these guys an opportunity.
But, yeah, I would think Becky Hammon would be the interesting choice and see what happens. Because I think this, in the end, I think the Lakers are doomed for failure anyways with LeBron there because this is not 28-year-old LeBron anymore.
Right.
So you actually, to be able to win, you would probably have to bring in two superstars to carry his ass. He'll be a good team player. He'll make everybody else around him better. And then you still got to pick up a bench, too, because the Lakers have almost nothing there. I watched a fair amount of Laker games at the end of the season, and I didn't see anything that impressed me from their roster.
No, the ball's been pretty much a bust. Kuzma still may be their best player, and he's above average.
I don't even think he's above average. And I think
yeah.
LeBron's
Yeah,
still their best player, but
he's
not as quick as he used to be. You know, none of us are, except for maybe Lucas because he's young still.
He has other interests out here. I mean, he's out here as much to play basketball as he is to get involved in the you know, the film and movie and television industry. I mean, he's producing shows, he's directing shows, he's on TV on 2 or 3 different shows. He's got an HBO show, he produces a game show. He's involved in some movies now.
Well, he produced a documentary on DAZN for the middleweight championship fight last week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's spending as much of his free time there as he is focusing on basketball. But, yeah, I do know that Magic and Jeannie Buss had dinner the other night. They got together, and of course, they plastered it all over Instagram and Twitter. But so I don't know if they're making amends or not. But the symbolism of Magic leaving was huge for the Lakers. Now you've got the Clippers coming on, and talk that Kawhi Leonard might be coming to the Clippers. You know, all of a sudden now the Clippers start to elevate themselves and put a good team together. They made the playoffs. The Lakers didn't.
So how about this? Real quick, since we got Lucas here, how do the Raptors keep Kawhi Leonard? Is that win a NBA championship? Would they have a chance to keep him then?
I think so. I think, you know, I think if they make the NBA Finals, they have a good chance. I think that's my guess. But the thing about Kawhi, Mike and Steve, is he's such an enigma, right? He doesn't talk a lot. There's very few hints on what he's going to do. Obviously, if he stays in Toronto, he will get a max contract, but the sponsorship opportunities in LA, as you guys both know, are sometimes a little bit too good to turn down. But I think it's a consideration. I think at the start of the season, there was very little chance he'd stay. But I think the way the Raptors have done, have worked with him with his load management throughout the year, and really been conciliatory to him, constantly in communication, that there's a good chance. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it's 50-50 right now, whether he stays or goes, which is a lot better than at the start of the season.
All right. Talking about people staying and going. Ricky Ray retired, too.
He did. I don't follow the CFL.
Does anybody in Toronto care? Because they have the worst fan base of any professional team in the world, by the way.
Oh, without a doubt. They do not care. Toronto is a Leafs predominant town, first and foremost. Then I would say the Raptors. And then it's the Blue Jays if we're doing well. If the Blue Jays aren't doing well, they're not.
Well, if the Raptors aren't doing
popular.
well, nobody cares either, right?
I would not as bad as the Blue Jays. I would say
Yeah.
the Raptors. The Raptors actually in the regular, the Raptors actually have a lot more of a hype atmosphere.
Well, it's hard to tell too, though, because it's been a while since the Raptors have sucked, hasn't it?
Well, we've made the playoffs since 2013.
Yeah, so that's like 5,
every year
6,
since 2013.
yeah.
So 5 to 6 years we've been in the playoffs, and the atmosphere has been great. And I think that, Toronto is it's a diverse place, and that means a lot more basketball fans are getting into the game. So it's good, but I think if Kawhi leaves, the rebuild begins, and I think we'll descend into irrelevancy for many, many years, unfortunately.
All right. Well, at least me and Steve won't get those texts with the capital letters that say Raptors anytime they get a lead early in a playoff game.
I just like to rib you guys. 'Cause
I got that
teams from
text,
Canada.
and it's like 8 at night, and I'm thinking, didn't this game just start?
Well, we were up 20. We were up like 20.
Hell, you
in
were
the
up by
second
40
quarter.
at one point, too.
At 40, yeah, by 40. So I can't wait for us to beat the 76ers. I just can't stand that team.
I like
Sorry.
Dr. J. But, Steve, any final words?
No, I think we covered the gamut today.
Are you still upset that Lucas came on?
Not upset Lucas came on, no.
You were upset at the start. We were just trying to hold a surprise party for you, Steve.
There you go, it was an upset start. I think we may have touched on this a little bit yesterday. I did have kind of one closing thought. Tiger Woods and the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Ooh.
Don't get me started.
Lucas legit? I think
No.
not legit. I'm a Tiger Woods fan, but I think this is not legit. I don't think that his contributions to mankind or to the country merit an award, which is the highest civilian award an American citizen can get, given by the President of the United States of America. Lucas, what's your thoughts on the Tiger and the President's Medal of Freedom? A buddy gift from Donald, his golfing buddy?
So my thoughts are exactly what you said, Steve. I think, look, Tiger and Trump are buddies, and I think the Medal of Freedom should be given to someone that does something heroic. Now, I'm the one who, and I'm the one who will be the first to say, and I know Mike will disagree with this, but I think the Tigers' comeback was the greatest sports story of the decade.
I'm
going to go there and say that right now.
So what about the steroids? What about the steroids?
But
I mean, should Barry Bonds be in the Hall of Fame?
I'm not talking about Barry Bonds. I'm talking about the
steroid
story.
user. Yeah.
I'm talking about the story of Tiger winning the Masters. I think it's a great sports story.
Mm-hmm.
But does it warrant a Medal of Freedom? Absolutely not. And I think this, Steve, Tiger's the fourth golfer to get that award, which to me is even laughable. Like, it's laughable. Like, I like Jack, I like Arnold, but Medal of Freedom, like, I don't know. I don't know.
Jack
and
Nicklaus are people that they both have hospitals named after him.
Yeah, Jack Nicklaus donated a lot of his winnings. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they
Tiger's
both
a foundation.
gave back.
Tiger's a foundation. He has a foundation.
Well, he does have
as a
Tiger
tax
Woods
write-off.
Right. First, as a tax write-off, probably, yeah.
Well,
there's probably a lot of truth to that.
Well, whatever. But I'm not gonna get into conspiracy theories with you. The point is, I don't think any golfer should have got a Medal of Freedom. I disagree. Because I think that should be given to very few people. And when it's given, it has merit. Because when you just give it to just so many people, it loses its importance.
It's
it
value.
loses its value. Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think it should only be given to those people that really make an important contribution to society and who do something heroic. And, but I agree with you, Steve. I just think this is, Tiger and Trump are buddies. They play golf together.
It's disappointing.
Hey, and I'll guess, let's do this also. I think if you look at Palmer and Nicholas, the presidents that gave them the same thing probably were playing golf with them too.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
George Bush giving, Palmer and Nicholas. So it's
you almost wonder, sadly, if they were on this 12th hole and they tee off and Tiger, or Nick or Trump says, "Hey, I'll bet you a Medal of Freedom against a big contribution to my campaign that I beat you on this hole."
There you go.
And
that's good.
And he lost. Good. Yeah, I mean, sadly. Let me ask one more question while we're kind of on this topic and get everybody's opinion on this. Virginia declines to go to the White House.
Yep.
Should teams decline going to the White House? I mean, are we disrespecting the presidency? But should they? I mean, going to the White House is an incredible honor. We didn't get to go in 1981 because Reagan had gotten shot. And I always feel that that's probably the biggest thing I missed out on, because the 76 team went, the 87 team went, but the 81 team didn't get to go because Reagan had been shot that day. And, they kind of poo-pooed that. But should, out of respect for the office of the presidency, notwithstanding who's in the office, should these teams respect the office of the presidency and the White House and go take the visit to the White House?
My opinion is it should be your choice. And
well, it is your choice.
So and you should be given it's freedom of choice. And you shouldn't be told in a free society what to do in that.
Yeah, but we don't have a free society. That is obvious.
Okay.
Now, my problem is this, though. Hold on. If there was a team that refused, say the Stanley Cup champions refused to go meet Obama, it would be considered racist.
Well, Tim Thomas. So this actually happened, Mike. The Boston Bruins, when they won the Cup in 2011, their goalie, Tim Thomas, who was a well-known Republican, he declined to go. And he was ostracized. He was ostracized by social media, the public opinion. And you're right. They called him, they labeled him a racist, a hater and all that stuff. But you know what? That's his choice. And you should respect
that choice.
It's
to be called a racist and to be ostracized.
No. Listen. No.
I know what you're saying, but that's what happened.
It's his choice to be. Of course, that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't.
And now you're considered a racist if you go to the White House.
Well, of course, because you're supporting. Because in theory, and what people are saying is that if you go, you're essentially condoning all of the bad things that Trump has done.
Yeah, but Tim Thomas basically was not condoning all the bad things Obama did. That's my problem with this whole thing. It's the social justice warrior crap again. I mean, let's face it. Obama was a scumbag. So was Trump. So was Bush. Every Bush, by the way. So was Clinton. So the bad thing is people don't realize that no matter who you're going to meet at the White House, they're probably not the best guy around.
Okay, but you shouldn't be ostracized
for anything.
You choose to decline. That's my point.
I know. You shouldn't be ostracized for going either.
Exactly. So that's all I'm saying. It shouldn't be mandatory. It shouldn't be like if you don't go, you're going to get a fine or something.
That's not the case. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, out of respect for the office.
No, there's no respect for the office.
Itself.
How can you have respect for an office that has constantly screwed us over for 200 years?
Exactly.
I respect the President of the United States. I don't necessarily respect who's in the Presidency of the United States, but I still respect the fact that we have a president and we have an office of the president. Now, what's disappointing is the people we put in recently But
we
that's
don't
our
put them
fault. We
in. They're
voted them in.
chosen for us, Steve. You realize that, right? You don't have a freedom to
Yeah.
vote for president. You have the freedom to vote for who the people that run everything allow you to
Right.
vote for
I understand
president.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's true. I mean, Ron Paul, who was basically libertarian, ran in the Republican Party. He was like in the top 2. When they did the debates, he got 10% of the time. And then they went on and made fun of him afterwards because he was never going to be allowed to win. What you got to understand is you have the illusion of choice in this country, but your choices come down from who 2 parties pick for you to vote from. And if you read anything from Thomas Jefferson, which I've read almost everything he's ever wrote, and he said that a 2-party system is not a democracy. Because, you have to have the freedom to have more. And if you look, hell, there were 9, 10 guys running for president in the early 1800s. You don't have that choice now. So my choice was Donald Trump, who I think is basically an idiot, and Hillary Clinton, who I think is basically an idiot. Where is my choice? You gave me 2 idiots that all believe the same thing because Donald Trump was a Democrat for 60 years. I mean, so there's no freedom of choice there. I have no respect for the office of the presidency because you know what? For me to give you respect, you have to earn it. I haven't had a president in my lifetime that has earned my respect. I'll just leave it at that.
My last comment is this, and you can wrap it up then, Mike, is, if I was in the position as one of those athletes who won a championship, I would probably go. But I understand and I respect someone like a Tim Thomas or an Alex Cora recently with the Boston Red Sox who declined. But unfortunately, we live in a society where if you decline, you are labeled X amount of things. And
well, now if you go, you're labeled X amount of things. Before,
exactly.
4 years ago, it was the opposite. And it's BS. It's why we don't have freedom anymore, because this is the thing. The guy that flashed the sign, if nobody talks about it, it didn't even happen. There's no harm done. Who cares? The problem is we have a tendency to pay attention to the morons in life. And we turn our back on the other stuff. And, I mean, the biggest thing I take from this whole show is this. Addison Russell should never be allowed to play baseball. If I was a Cubs fan, I would not spend one dime on that. And, Steve, we got Kent Sterling, who does a show on our network, who is a Cubs fan. He wrote an article about it today that I was just reading on the site. He said the same thing. He's been a Cubs fan his whole life, but he's never going to pay another dime as long as Addison Russell is running on the field at Wrigley Field.
I would agree. I think these leagues have to take a hard stance on
for sure
physical abuse, and until they do, this is what's going to happen. But the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chicago Cubs, got to say, the Baltimore Ravens, any team that's got players on their squad, the Cleveland Browns, no. And the leagues have got to step up and say, you get caught, you get convicted, you do it, you're banned for life. I mean, they banned Shoeless Joe Jackson for gambling.
And he didn't gamble.
And he didn't gamble. He just was caught up with those idiots.
Well, it was Kennesaw Mountain Landis, which is using him as an example.
Yeah, exactly. But he put his foot down and said, we won't tolerate that. It's bad for baseball. It's bad for sports what these idiots do. They get it on film. I'm amazed that people don't realize that you're pretty much everywhere you are now, you're filmed, unless you're in your own home. And then you're probably filmed too.
Yeah.
So
on your computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, on your
computer,
TV,
or many things.
I would never have one of those
phone.
Alexas or whatever. If you have one of those Alexas in your house, you don't think somebody's not listening to that thing 24 hours a day?
I hate to tell you, Steve, but everybody listens to all your phone calls too.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, I know they do. Yeah, that's the freedom. That's the Patriot Act right there.
Yeah, George W. Bush.
Right.
And George W. Bush was a much bigger scumbag than Obama or Trump ever were. Just my opinion.
He was part of that Trilateral Commission, wasn't he?
Well, they all are.
Group. They all are, yeah.
Council on Foreign Relations.
I don't know what Obama is.
Oh, right. All right.
Yeah, Obama was. Obama went to Yale.
Was he?
Was it Yale
Okay.
or Harvard? Yeah, they're all in the same
He
thing.
was part of it too.
All right,
All right.
Lucas,
But
you go visit your prime minister. Tell him we said hi.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
What's true? You're going to see the prime minister? He did retweet you once,
No.
didn't he?
His chief of staff did.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not the same.
So same, similar, but whatever. It's
It
all
is
good.
similar. It's all good. Lucas, I want to thank you for coming on with the surprise visit today. I apologize for the rudeness Steve showed at the beginning of the show.
I'm not surprised.
All right, Steve. We're coming back tomorrow to talk the top 10 clutch moments in sports history. So be ready because you know Sam McGinnis is going to have every hockey win you could possibly find. Did we
Okay.
lose Steve?
no, I'm here.
You might-
All right. All right, guys.
Okay.
I want to remind you, I'll be back in like 38 minutes with Bobby Sheridan on the Sheridan Report, and we're going to give you the top plays of the day. I sounded really down there, didn't I? I need to pep up. All right, remember, you can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, Zeno Live Radio. You can download the app on the iTunes Store. You can download the app on the Google Store if you don't have an iPhone and instead have a Samsung Galaxy or whatever it's called. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank Lucas for coming on again, and as always, we will see you tomorrow at noon. For Lucas Weiss, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.